Hey everybody, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys another video of decks getting ready for the Paradox Rift expansion. Today I'm going to focus more on Lost Zone, so Turbo Lost Zone, and I have a Kyogre Lost Zone variant here for you guys, because I really don't think Lost Zone's going to be as dead as people think. I know some people think like, oh, Jirachi's coming out and Iron Hands is coming out, so, the Lost Zone decks are just dead, like there's no way they can work, right? And I just really don't think that's gonna be the case, so I would be happy to be proven wrong, but because I'm not a huge fan of playing against Lost Zone. Well, I mean, I love playing against Lost Zone because I play a lot of I play a lot of Rapid Strike, but I really don't think the deck's really going anywhere, and so I have two builds here that we're going to go over both of them. But before we do, I just wanted to remind you guys that this is a series I'm doing. So check out the videos on the last couple days where I put out a video on Iron Hands EX. So the best deck that I think is going to go with Iron Hands EX. And then before that was with Roaring Moon EX also. And I think that's going to be the best, my favorite card coming out of the expansion is Roaring Moon EX. And then look out for a couple of videos, or a couple days from now, where I put out a video of clumping all of the best decks together, or decks I'm most excited for the Paradox Rift expansion. So it'll be a nice all-in-one video, kind of going over a brief of why I'm excited for each deck, kind of what their purpose in the meta is, all that type of stuff. So, start with, so we're going to go over Lost Zone. So this one is going to be showing off the Iron Valiant card. There are two Iron Valiants in both variants. I think Iron Valiant is extremely strong card, just in general. I think it's really strong in decks that already have a lot of switches. So, Lost Zones, because they're already playing 8 switches with switch cards, 4 switch cards, 4 escape routes typically. So with that, it's really easy to activate multiple Iron Valiants if you need to. And for those of you that don't know what Iron Valiant does, sorry, I should have had this pulled up already, but basically, Limitless Iron Valiant is, once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active spot, you can put 2 damage counters on any one of your opponent's Pokemon. And this says the first time this happens, or once per turn, per Pokemon it happens. So if you have 2 Iron Valiants in play, so if you have like 2 on your bench, you can retreat into one, or with like a basic energy, and you retreat into your first Iron Valiant. Okay, you put 20 damage onto one of your opponent's Pokemon, and then you use an escape rope. And then now you put the other Iron Valiant in the active, and then boom, you can put another 20. So you can put 40 damage onto something that is either on the bench or something that you're trying to combo take care of with the Kyogre or a Sableye or something like that. And because it's an ability, it's going to completely dodge things like the Jirachi that's coming out, because it's not an attack, even though it is a basic Pokemon. So it's going to go around that. It's just a nice way to set up damage counters. I've seen a lot of people playing this with the Yoga Loop, because it's a nice way to start putting damage counters on things, and then you can KO something with 60 or 70 HP really quickly, really easily, if you do have, multiple Iron Valiants and then a Medicham out. So that'll be very good. It'll be very good in the mirror match. So that's the biggest thing about this, is that I like this deck a lot because it will be able to take on the mirror match very easily. And then on top of that, you will have answers, or newer answers, to old problems in the deck. So some of the hardest matchups for the Sableye Lost Zone deck so far have been Lugia, because it's just really big and it's kind of hard to deal with that. Obviously, you have the Raikou, but outside of Raikou, it can be a little bit hard to deal with their giant HP units. Charizard, for the same reason. Charizard just has really big HP Charizards, and unlike Lugia, where you at least have a weakness attacker, and Lost Zone, you don't really have a weakness attacker against the Charizard. Well, now with the Roaring Moon coming out, you don't need to hit for weakness, because you can just one-shot the Charizard coming out. And then so unless your opponent can actually chain together 2 to 3 Charizards in a row before you can KO the rest of their stuff with your one-prizers, it's going to be really hard for them to come back and beat you. Because a lot of times you can start off with some nice, especially if you have these Iron Valiants, turn 1 even, you can just go turn 1 Iron Valiant, put damage on things, turn multiple times into a Cramorant or into a Sableye, if you really high roll, or there's plenty of things you can do turn 1 here with multiple Iron Valiant. If you do get those high roll offs, you can Mirage Gate turn 1 even, something like that. But outside of that, even, you can still use Sableye to take out the back row things, and that's a one-prizer. So if your opponent takes it out, that's kind of fine. They have to set up a Charizard as their only attacker. Oh, they set up a Charizard? Okay, here you go, Roaring Moon, take out the Charizard. You have to have another Charizard in order to immediately take that KO back, or really take any KO back. If they do, we can just go, okay, Super Rod, the Roaring Moon, Nest Ball, the Roaring Moon, Rayhan, attach an energy to the Roaring Moon with Mirage Gate, and then just continue to pop off again. Immediately, hit like one hit KO that Charizard. Now your opponent has to have a third Charizard, and it's like that's not really likely to happen. And if it is, there's a chance that we could just get a third Roaring Moon back with a second Super Rod or something like that nature, right? Or a point to where we can try and boss up the Pidgeot. If they do have the Pidgeot, that's the way they're doing things. Well, boom, we have Iron Hands. So Iron Hands is able to hit you for 320 on your Pidgeot, and that's able to just one-hit KO the Pidgeot. So there's a lot of good answers, or Iron Hands can just do Ampy very much on a one prizer and then take two prizes that way. And then boom, there you go. So this variant has a lot of answers to older problems like the Lugia, the Charizards, and it even has a little bit more kick into the Inteleon Urshifu, because now the Roaring Moon EX gives them a good way to one-hit KO an Urshifu, which they didn't have that before. Before, the only big attacker they ever had in this matchup was the Raikou, which granted, the Raikou would one-hit KO an Inteleon VMAX, but most good Inteleon Urshifu players wouldn't leave their Inteleon in the active because they know that's one of the only ways they would lose the game. So because of that, they would just leave the Urshifu in the active or the Medicham in the active. And there wasn't really a good way for the Lost Box player to really deal with that. But now with Roaring Moon in the addition, I can't just hit you with my Urshifu and leave it in the active, or put my Medicham and leave it in the active, because you can hit me with Roaring Moon now for a lot of damage and KO that, or you can just one-hit KO the Urshifu. Granted, it's going to immediately get Yoga Looped back, so that's not the best answer. That matchup is still going to be losing for you, because if you're going to deal 200 damage to your Roaring Moon, I'm just going to say, okay, Alakazam move 10 damage over Yoga Loop it. Not very hard to do. Or I could just put damage on it proactively if it's on your bench already, and then if you use the one-hit KO move, they just trade, so I'm down one prize in tempo, but I immediately get two prizes back. That's also an option. So it's still losing, but it still gives you answers that you didn't have before, which I think is the biggest factor. So that's why, so that's the big thing on the Turbo variant. With the Raihans, I think Raihan is extremely good at this variant, especially with the Iron Hands, the Roaring Moon. It just lets you attach an energy from your discard pile, so that's one ramp, and then you can just go 2-dart the Mirage Gate. That's going to be 2 more ramp, and then attach for turn, that's 4. You can easily Iron Hands EX the turn it comes down. Very, very easy. And then this other variant we're going to talk about here is the Yogurt. Good old Kyogre variant. And you see here, this one is mostly going to have, this one has the Medicham in it. So this is going to be more your standard combo, churn your deck around, go through it as fast as you can with the Energy Recycler, set up for that Kyogre. But it also has double Iron Valiant and the option for the Medicham. So this version isn't playing a Raihan because we don't need to get to those, big 3 or 4 energy attacks outside of exactly Kyogre. Sometimes the Greninja, but not usually anything big like that. But being able to have, again, the Medicham and the Iron Valiant in the mirror match is going to be really, really big. Because 2 Iron Valiants and a Medicham, that's 60 damage. You can KO a lot of things with that. Or you can set up really big with things like, okay, I'm going to stabilize your board. Let's say your opponent, you're in the mirror match, and your opponent isn't, well-versed in the mirror match as you are. They could lock themselves out on board oftentimes. So a lot of times they go like, okay, 3 Comfeys, a Greninja, that's already 4. A Kramer and a Sableye, that's 6. That's already their entire thing. Plus, they're going to want a Manaphy a lot of times. So if they go 2 Comfey, Manaphy, Greninja, Cramorant, Sableye, there's your 6 again. And people will do that a lot of times if they don't fully understand how the mirror match works. And if they do that, a lot of times what you can do is you can kind of lock them out, keep all their units, all their Pokemon in play, and just go, okay, Lost Mine, put 12 damage counters down this way. Lost Mine, put 12 damage counters on this way. Basically get to a spot to where you can all but certainly take out all of your opponent's Pokemon in one turn, and just go, okay, well, now that your Pokemon are really damaged, here's my Medicham. Medicham V, Yoga Loop, take an extra turn. That's going to get 1 KO for me, and then, Sableye with some other shenanigans, or even Kyogre, take out all the other prizes. You can probably have, or not probably, you can very easily have a 4 to 5 to 6 prize turn in the mirror match if you can set it up correctly with your opponent locking themselves out on the bench, which a lot of newer or inexperienced players do. You're also able to play the Pidgeot V with the Seal Stone in this variant, so you can use the Seal Stone, vacuum it away if you need to, shuffle this out. It all feels fairly good. And this is another deck that really beats the mirror match. And because you are on the Kyogre variant, you are a lot better into the bigger decks like the Mew. Also, that's another thing too, that Mew is kind of a problem for the Lost Zone sometimes, because Mew EX Mew VMAX has a lot of HP. Well, Roaring Moon's a dark type Pokemon, so now that your opponent in the Turbo variant, you would struggle because you couldn't kill the Mew VMAX very well. Well, now with Roaring Moon, you're able to just hit it for 220, which goes up to 440, and you're able to just go, okay, 440 damage, one hit the Mew VMAX, boom, 3 prizes for you, easy, you know. Or obviously, if you don't have a stadium in play and you can't hit it for that 440, at the very worst, you always just have the, okay, one hit KO move, deal 200 to my Roaring Moon. You know, you have plays that you can do with this dark type Pokemon, which will help you a lot in that Mew matchup as well. So I'm really looking forward to Lost Zone still being able to adapt in the meta and turn into one of these two variants. Which one is going to be better? I'm not 100% sure. I really like this variant with the Raihan, the Iron Hands, and the Roaring Moon. But I mean, Kyogre's done well over and over and over again. It's won, I think, half of all of NA's regionals at this point for this season. I think I might be a little bit wrong. I know it won the first two. Didn't win the third one, didn't win the fourth one. So yeah, it's won half, I believe. I think it's won 2 out of 4 of the regionals. It's been in the finals of, no, it wasn't. Anyways, point being, Kyogre's done extremely well. Kyogre's done extremely well this season. So Sao Paulo, we'll have to see if people can decide to stay with that Kyogre variant or go more into this, keep with the Turbo variant with Iron Hands and Roaring Moon. If I personally were to play a Lost Zone deck with the new cards, I would probably go more for this Iron Hands with Roaring Moon style. Iron Hands is just such a beast in the mirror match. Like, if you're able to get the Iron Hands first, I think a lot of matchups in the mirror will come down to who can unlock their Iron Hands first. If you can get Iron Hands unlocked with the 4 energy first in the mirror match, then it's gonna be a lot easier for you to come away with that game, which almost makes me wonder if going second is how you do things, because going second lets you use Kara's Experiment first, and then you can attack with a Kramer and get ahead on the prize tempo trade, and then immediately get into that Iron Hands turn 2. That could be something you do. Or if going first matters, because they get the tempo trade of saying, oh, if you go second, you're going to get a KO with the Kramer, and that's good. So you usually come ahead on tempo. But now, if you can't, or if your opponent that went first gets Iron Hands on turn 2, and they KO your Cramorant with their amp you very much, they're not only match you on tempo, because they start taking the KOs right back and their prices back, but they're going to pull ahead of you in tempo, because they're able to now just immediately KO you back and take take 2 prizes back to you. And it's going to be really hard for you to catch up with that, because at 230 HP, it's kind of hard for these decks to deal with. Basically, it's just Roaring Moon, but then if you use Roaring Moon to KO your opponent's Iron Hands, and you drop your Roaring Moon down to 30, that's not good, because now your Roaring Moon's going to die to, like, double Iron Valiant, or an Iron Valiant plus just 10 damage from a Sableye or something like that. And yeah, it'll make for some really interesting play patterns. I actually think the most optimal way to play this matchup now is to go first every time, just so you could have the Iron Hands going second, or Iron Hands turn 2 guaranteed. So very interesting. I'm very excited to see how Lost Zone kind of adapts to the new cards and adapts to the new metas. But that's gonna be it for this video. Make sure to check out the videos coming up on the more decks I'm excited to see in the new Paradox Rift coming up. The next one I'm going to be talking about is Gardevoir, and showing you guys some of the new cards into Gardevoir that I'm excited for. But yeah, so you don't want to miss that. Make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so you get that notification when it goes live. I appreciate all the help you guys have given me in the Pokemon community with my transfer over here and pivoting over to the new game. It's been a lot of fun, and you guys have made it extremely enjoyable. I appreciate all of your support. That's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.